Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Why Do I Do It podcast, the podcast where we talk to professional performers about their worst, weirdest, and most embarrassing gigs. This week we've got a comedian who has been tour support for the likes of Ramesh Ranganathan, Rob Beckett, Kerry Godliman, Tom Allen, Sean Walsh, and a whole heap of others. He's a fantastic comedian who goes by the name of Jake Lambert. Now, Jake seems to have experienced an awful lot. We had a lot to talk about, a proper funny episode. We talk about that time Jake outed an audience member's affair live on stage, and some ruthless heckles he's had in the past. Proper funny episode. Don't forget to hit subscribe. And actually, we've had a couple of requests. People have started to request people that they want to see on the show. So if you do have anyone in particular that you want to see, someone you're a big fan of, you want us to interview them, let us know in the YouTube comments or email us at info@torquaycomedyclub.co.uk, and we'll do our best to get them on for you. So, yeah, here we are. Sit back and enjoy Jake Lambert. Hello, Jake.
Hello.
Hello. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, no, thank you for having me. How are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. It's what is it? It's 11 a.m. on a Friday. I should have suggested I've been up for 3 hours and been doing lots.
Well,
I failed miserably at everything I planned to do.
Well, we've learned that you definitely don't have kids. That's all we've learned.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. Very, very good. In fact, my last Edinburgh show was about the fact that I don't want children.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I'm really putting that out there, even by accident, apparently, just by telling people I'm having lions all the time. So I guess because you thought that, you must have children then.
Yeah, and to be fair, I never thought I wanted them either, but I've got two now, so I wouldn't rule yourself out completely.
Oh, okay. Oh,
it's
right,
not always your choice.
Yeah, right. That's true. Oh, okay. Well, we'll see. But I mean, if I do and they see this, I've got some explaining to do.
Well, that's it. I also feel I need to clarify. I do love my children, because they probably will see this. So
oh, right. Yeah. They might be in that cupboard behind you, waiting to jump out any moment. Did one of them do the drawings on the wall?
No, they are professional pictures, which they'll be glad to hear.
Well, there's the artist one. There was just one at the back left that looked like maybe it was like a child's drawing, but maybe I'm just seeing it at a bad angle. Hope you didn't pay too much for it.
No. Well, I made the mistake. My eldest daughter, when she was about 4, she did a little scribble on the wall in the lounge. And I thought it would be a really cute idea if I got like a picture frame, took off the back, and I just framed that little drawing.
Oh, that's very nice. You're good, Dad.
Well, it was nice, but what it did was make her think the whole house was a canvas. So we had drawings in Sharpie everywhere. And it was a nightmare.
It's a lovely story for if she goes on to be a famous artist.
Yes.
But if she doesn't, and you've got to live in a house and it's the present day, probably just an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, I imagine that's how Banksy's parents felt. So
he did. I was going to do a Banksy tale about his latest drawing, but again, that dates the podcast, so we shouldn't do that.
No,
let's remake one up and predict it.
Is this the tube one that you're on about? The one
yeah. And they washed it off, didn't they?
They did, yeah. 7.5 million, they reckon, didn't they? It was worth.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess the problem is you have to cut some of the tube apart. So, is it worth it? You'd have to take off and have the actual. I guess so. It is worth it. It's a Banksy, isn't it? But I didn't know I couldn't figure out what it was. I could just see green squiggles and I didn't bother to read about it. What was it?
It said on the station, it said, "I get lockdown," and then as the doors closed, it said, "But I get back up again."
Oh, that's very good, actually.
Yeah, it was quite clever.
That's my review of Banksy. Oh, clever. Yeah.
Just some green squiggles. It was clever. I like it.
Oh, okay. Oh, good for him. Yeah. Right. That's cool. So how would you buy that though? You have to have both bits if they'd sold it.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to cost more than 7.5 million to get that tube wherever.
Yeah, exactly.
Wherever it needs to go. I don't know, but
logistical nightmare. But I guess he doesn't have to worry about that, does he?
No, he doesn't. He just knows it's some people will pay for it. I was an idiot. I was a massive graffiti and Banksy fan, and I paid because he did a load of Princess Diana £10 notes with her face instead of the Queen, and I bought one of them on eBay for £45 for a £10 note, which came very obviously freshly printed.
Oh no!
But I just crumpled it up to make myself feel better and framed it. I got a lot of frames in my house.
You got a lot of frames, clearly. Yeah, just it seems like when anybody in your house does something wrong or makes a mistake, you just frame it. Kid draws on the wall. There you go.
That's how art works. So just as a start, can you, for people that might not know who you are, can you just give a brief history of your like comedy career to date?
Yeah. I'm Jake Lambert. I'm a comedian, as you just said. I started out on Twitter, writing jokes, and then a few comedians started following me and then messaging me asking me to buy my jokes off of me, which I didn't know was a thing. So I sold a few and then thought I could probably cut out the middleman here. So I always wanted to do stand-up anyway. So I thought this will be the push. I'll go and do it. And then I went and did it. And then after a few months, I got an agent, and then people started paying me to do it. And then I just kept on going, and I'm just keeping on going. And that's present day, really.
It's such a humble humble path, but I'm sure there's a lot of people that are finding it really difficult, really annoyed to hear how easily.
Oh, okay, right. Yeah, I guess I had a slight advantage that I'd written so many jokes on Twitter before I'd started that I had like I could sort of filter them out. I had some sort of quality control over. I knew what sort of worked because I could try them out to like a following. So I certainly had an advantage, but I had no idea at the first gig whether these jokes that worked on paper would work in the room.
Yeah,
and sort of audibly, but turns out they did. So yeah, I was quite lucky. I think that I had a bit of a I probably, apart from, I never really was worried or had any issues with stage fright, so that was never a problem.
okay.
So I think I was sort of I probably started maybe 6 months ahead of other people from my first gig. I felt like anyway that I found finding my feet. I sort of already had the jokes, and I already didn't really mind being on stage. I think probably open mic nights in London and above pubs and stuff, I think it sort of put me just, I mean, that's probably quite a crass thing to say, but I feel like that. So I feel like I cheated a bit.
Right. Okay.
Is what I'm trying to say.
So when was it when did you do your first like actual gig then?
I think it was about coming up to 6 years ago.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. But I mean, and then getting paid and like full time 4 and a bit years. Yeah, I guess that makes about sense. Yeah, it sounds about right. Yeah, so, maybe 5 years almost.
So in that period of time then, like the last 6 years, what's been your like career highlight?
Oh, the highlights would be last November I went to Norway, opening for Michael McIntyre. We did 4 nights, and the one night that stands out was Oslo Arena. 10,000 people. Wow. And it was just ridiculous. It was they're very good. Scandinavian audiences are very good. Everyone always says if you get like a laugh here, it's a big laugh there. If it's a big laugh here, it's an applause break there. Everything's sort of one up.
Yeah.
And that was so true. It's exactly how it was. They were just amazing. It was so warm, and I think that was the second night of the 4. And I'd made a mistake on the first night of making a joke about adults who use like those scooters.
Oh, right, yeah.
Because we arrived, we flew, and then we were probably flew in, and maybe about 4 hours later I was on stage. So I didn't really get to see Norway. But the next day, so that joke just sort of, they were lovely, 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 and then that just sort of went, and then I was like, oh, that was weird. And then I went out, and it was almost like a punchline where there was just scooters everywhere, but not even being used. Like they, like the Boris bikes we have here.
Yeah.
They have them, but without the QR code or anything. You just pick up a scooter, and then when you're finished with it, you just stop and get off. Let's like Grand Theft Auto, but for scooters. and then they just carry on, and they just all share all these scooters. And so it was probably the worst joke I could have made in Norway. It was such a lovely room. I'd been out on the stage and stuff, but I think I knew it was going to be a good gig, so I didn't have any like sort of like, I wasn't anxious or nervous or anything, and it was amazing. It was absolutely phenomenal. And then when I came off, they'd asked what I wanted for dinner, and I asked for a Chinese, and I had a Chinese takeaway waiting for me. So
No way.
It was perfect. And
That's awesome.
so I knew when I was on stage, I knew I had the Chinese. I love Chinese food, so I was so happy. That's the highlight.
With the
Not
Chinese. The Chinese was the highlight.
Yeah, the highlight. Really good stuff.
So that's great. That's really positive. I like the attention to their rider details there is incredible.
Well, I didn't actually realise. So that night, I thought they had Chinese at the venue or something. So every night before I went on, someone would come up to me and say, "What do you fancy for dinner?" And I'd be like, "Oh, what do they have?" And he'd say, "Oh, pasta or Chinese," or he'd list them all. And I would say, "Oh, great, Chinese food, that'd be amazing." And then on the last night, he ordered. I asked for something, and I said, "The catering here is incredible." And he went, "No. When you ask, I go out and get it." And I didn't realise this poor guy was going out just to find whatever I'd asked for. And I thought all the venues just had like amazing catering.
Yeah, like a buffet city below the
yeah. I was like, I can't believe this. So the riders were very good. Well, very specific.
Yeah.
Not even a rider, it was just me ordering a guy to go out on a scooter and get some food.
Unfortunately, this bit gets a bit like therapy for you, I think. It's basically, we need to know the worst, weirdest, rowdiest gigs, anything like that you've done, the sort of thing that makes you die inside when you think about it.
Yeah, okay. I'll start with one. This is the one whenever people think of the worst gig. I've been so lucky that I think this is probably my only sort of death. I've not and maybe that's my own fault for not taking enough risks or something, but comedy death I've not really had. But there was this one that I had the night before, which is I think it's definitely Devon, was Taunton.
Yes. No.
Which is one of my favourite venues. Oh,
Taunton,
is that Somerset?
Taunton is Somerset.
Yes, oh God, I said that, I didn't even know where it was. One of my favourite venues, really cool. And I think the one of them is you should never take your high from one gig into the other, because Taunton was incredible. Yeah. And then we drove over to the other one. I'll say the other one now so you don't have to bleep it. And we got there, checked into the hotel, and then we thought we'd drive over to the venue because it was still like a half an hour drive or something to the venue. We got there, lovely art centre. Did I say I was with Sean Walsh?
You didn't say
that.
Yeah.
So it's me and Sean, and we're like, great, we'll get some dinner. And they've got amazing catering. They made us this, I think it was vegan or vegetarian curry. And it was so lovely. And we thought this would be so nice. I think we put ourselves in this really comfortable zone. And then Sean would introduce me onto stage, and he wanted some chocolate or something. So he was going to introduce me to stage and then go out to the shops. And then I walked onto stage, and just the audience gave us absolutely nothing, nothing. Sean got back from the shops and he thought I hadn't gone on. I think I had at that point I must have stopped to have a glass of water because my mouth was really dry because the audience just was staring at me. And then he thought I hadn't gone on yet. So he from the back I heard him shout, "Jake!" I thought I didn't know he'd just come back, so I thought he was checking I was okay. So I burst out laughing. And then I think I was supposed to do usually 20 to 25, when I think I did about 15. I was like, I think this is enough. And then I was like, oh my God, they hate me. I can't figure it out. And then Sean went on, and obviously I shouldn't be talking about other people's deaths, but he had exactly the same thing. Just absolutely nothing. And the only way he managed to win it back was somebody walked out, swore at him as they walked out. Just nothing was working. And then there was a woman on the front row in a wheelchair. And Sean said, "This gig's going so badly, I wouldn't be surprised if you walked out." Which could have gone either way, but they absolutely loved it. And that was literally the only laugh of the night. And so we hid backstage until all the audience had left. And the gig went so badly that we drove to the hotel, and then we went in there, packed all our stuff, put it in the car and drove home because we just wanted to wake up in our own beds. We didn't want to have anything to do with that gig the next day. So we just drove home. And I felt so bad for the woman there because the woman was really excited to have us at the hotel. So she sort of was getting Sean to sign stuff as we were leaving. But we were like, "Oh, it's not you. I promise it's not the hotel. We just thought we could get back." And oh God, it was.
So why?
It's just so bizarre.
Why were they just giving you nothing back? What?
We've got no idea. And other people have been there. I spoke to Tom Allen, has been to there, and he loved it. So he said, "What a lovely venue, what lovely people." And something just didn't work. I don't know what it was, but something just didn't connect with either of us. Or honestly, no idea. It was so bizarre.
How is that one of those stories that kind of like, does it repeat on you, that story, or is it one of those, it's in, it's done, it's forgotten? How do you deal with that sort of thing?
I'm usually quite good at sort of just, it's done. But I think I actually feel the worst I feel is whenever I think about it, I end up thinking about that poor lady at the hotel who was so happy to have us there, and we just sort of didn't even stay a night.
Yeah.
I felt really bad, but I think it was just so confusing. You often know something. You'll go to a gig, and if the audience are too far from the stage, if the stage is too high, if they're on tables and all separated, then there's loads of reasons why a gig can not go brilliantly or could not be as perfect as you want, and you can spot it. But this was a lovely art centre. We were in a great mood. We'd had a lovely dinner. We were having a lovely time, and it just made no sense. And we've got no idea what happened, and got no idea. And typically, after gigs like that, you'll have this, and we had this, where the audience were going, "That was so great, thank you so much." So often they don't realise that they've been rubbish, and they might just be ones that stare. But we were just like, and probably because we had it sort of juxtaposed with Taunton, which was like, Taunton's one of those gigs where it's like you're walking on like a wave of like laughter. It's constant, and it's amazing. So walking on a wave, walking on a cloud, surfing, riding a wave. There you go. And either way, Great Taunton was not that. So this other one was I know why it was. Again, sorry, it sounds bad. The gig ended up being good. Now this is why, and it's still very weird. So I was supporting Kerry Godliman in another really nice venue called in Andover, called Andover the Lights, which I always think sounds like Michael Caine. Like it's like a shoplifting for like, or like it's like got into a shop with a gun and demanded some light bulbs, like Andover the Lights. But anyway, it's Andover the Lights, and I walked out there. Again, I'd been there before. Love this venue. There's venues you just always remember and always have a lovely time. And I walked out, and as I would always start with, I'd sort of say, "Hello, how are we doing? We well? Or are you all right?" I said it. "Hello, you well?" The man at the back just went, "We will be when you piss off," and it was so comically like it was hilarious, but it was such a comically brutal punch to the gut thing to say. That I was like, "What? How bad has your day been?" And how much must you hate me? That like I said, it was that. I don't need like I was like, "Have you seen me before?" And he went, "No." And I went, "I've walked from the back to the microphone like 5 seconds, if that, and you've decided that your day will definitely be better, and you will definitely be happier once I have left." And then I sort of. People always say with heckles, you've got to have like a bang straight back. But that doesn't really suit me. I think if I'm on stage doing my thing and then suddenly someone says something, I just go slam. It's just not what I do.
Yeah.
And I think people have a sort of lot of myth for how people deal with heckles. It's always nicer just to talk to them and just be like, "Are you okay?" It's such a disarming thing to say to a heckler, to sort of, go straight for their mental health or something. But I just went, "What?" And then the audience were love. I said, "Right." I said, "This is what I'll do. I'll go back and I'll start again. And you won't say your line. We'll cut your line and we'll go." And then they were lovely, right? The audience were lovely. It was weird, but it was like, obviously I walked off stage afterwards and Kerry was like, "What happened?" Like, so I've never known a response like that at the start. So I came off. So again, the gig I think was nice, but only because they were probably thinking we need to be extra warm now for this poor guy. So Kerry went on and she had a gig, and afterwards the staff came into the green room and said, "Oh, some of the audience want to see you, Jake." I was like, "Oh my God, it could be the guy."
Yeah.
So I walked out, and honestly, it was so weird. It was like something from in Extras when Andy Millman's in the pub and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "Do the voice, do it,
Yeah.
say it, do the catchphrase." Oh God, they could be listening to this, but there was basically just these people who had somehow decided that they really stood up for me and were like, therefore, owned me. So Kerry, like I went out there and they were like, ignore him. We call him the Sulk because he wears like a Hulk Hogan bandana, but he's always miserable. And they were like, ignore him. Da da da. They knew his name or whatever. And then
I love that as a nickname, by the way, the sulk.
yeah, the Sulk is great. And then they said, can we have a photo with you? These two guys who had like clearly decided they sort of had some sort of like ownership over me. At this point, so they've said, can we have a photo? Someone's gone to take the photo, and they have each decided to pick me up. So they've got their arms around me and they've grabbed a leg each. So I'm there like with my arms around them and my legs out. And then Kerry's probably thinking, where did Jake go? So she's walked out into the room, like the auditorium bit where they're all sort of, sorry, the foyer. And I'm just there being held up. And she's like, what's going on? And then Kerry obviously feels ownership over it. So she's like, you can't just pick him up. So she's sort of like trying to pull me down. It's honestly, so it's so, I was like, what is happening? It's like I'm a rag doll. I'm just sort of been verbally abused on stage. People are picking me up. Now people are literally physically fighting over me. It was so bizarre. Just one of those weird nights that I just go, I'm not sure what happened. But hopefully when I tour Andover, the right people come back and I neither get told to piss off or picked up. That's the aim.
Yeah. That's a good goal. That's a good goal.
So that was just one of the weirder nights.
I mean, like I say, we've done quite a few of these, and these stories are fairly unique in themselves.
Right. Okay.
I mean, do you there was a theme for a while that was surrounding Christmas gigs, which tends to be, commonplace on the circuit that Christmas gigs are somewhat difficult. But we've never had anyone been picked up after being told to piss off before.
Yes, I know. What two opposing things to happen from an audience?
Yeah.
Literally carrying me on their shoulders.
to get rid of you.
To throw me out.
So go on. So you say you got a last one, which is a bit longer. So what's this last story?
Oh, and this last one. So this was a corporate gig I did. I'll just say it was on one of the islands off the UK. You know, we've got those little satellite islands, and you go and do gigs there. And so it was a corporate. Somebody had seen me at a gig in London, which is one of my favourite venues. Again, I keep saying my favourite venues, and now I'm going to tell you about lovely gigs I've had. Sorry. Top Secret Comedy Club in London. Always a lovely, lovely time. Audience are very savvy, very switched on. You always have lovely gigs. This guy had seen me there. I think he was over here on a trip with his wife or something. So they have, it's the annual, what is it? Construction Awards.
Oh, okay.
On this island for the people that live there. And if you can call them people. And so I, a lot of them were lovely. It was just a certain bunch. So basically, they flew me out there, put me in a hotel, and it was going to be, I thought, quite a nice gig. And what I did was I asked who had done the corporate gig in the before. One of them was Lucy Porter, and the year before that was Milton Jones. Mm-hmm. So I was like, right, they're lovely. They are what I would call sort of cardigan comedy. They're sort of like, do you know what I mean? It's very nice and warm and positive. So I was like, oh, that's lovely, a lovely bunch to be in with. And if they liked them, I'm sure they like me. Great. So I get there and it's all set up. Again, like I said earlier, distance, all on tables, separate from each other. And they said, this is what happens. And we were going to get you to be on stage all night, sort of presenting the awards, which is great because you don't really then have to do stand-up. You can just sort of casually drop in some lines, and I thought it'd be nice, but they said, we're not going to do that. We're going to have the awards, and then a guy is getting some honorary award thing. So he's retiring. He's been like a big figure in construction here for years. We've got his wife has secretly come in, and she's going to give out the award. And You'll be on after that. So you'll be on at about 10:30, 11.
Right.
And the night was starting at 7. And they were like, don't worry though. And I think they would say they're really lovely and they love the show. She went, don't worry though, they'll be really drunk by then. I was like, so don't worry about that. Okay, right, fine. Right, you seem to know these people better than I do. Fine. So I'm at the side. They come and pick me up from the hotel at like 9:30 or something. So I go there and it's all quite rowdy. Even when people are winning awards, people are sort of booing the other people instead of like clapping them, and it's all just a bit strange. People are getting up constantly to go to the open bar at the back, and they're like coming back down. I'm sat with the wife of the guy who's going to win the award, who looks at me as though she's never heard that stand-up comedy is a thing. So she sort of turned to me, she goes, what are you doing here? I said, oh, I'm doing the comedy afterwards. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, oh, I'm just sort of going after and do like a half an hour set. Well, they said 20 minutes to half an hour, so I already in my head was thinking 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So maybe 18. So I said, and she was like, oh, okay, is that like a thing you do then? And I was like, right, okay, well, I hope that they're more savvy to comedy than you are. She was very strange. So she, in the end, goes into the room. He's getting the award. She doesn't want to go on stage anymore. So she just sort of watches from the back, and he doesn't even know she's there. And then she says, oh, he's having a good time. I'll just go home and let him know I was here. I assume they'd had an argument before this whole thing.
Yeah,
and
it
so
must have
she
done.
didn't actually want to be there at all, but they'd said, we'll come and pick you up or whatever. So that was weird. So he wins the award. And then the guy presenting the whole thing says, and that's it for the awards. Thank you for coming. Thanks, everybody. And everyone sort of gets to leave. He goes, and then now you've got a stand up from Jake Lambert. But he'd already said it's over, and they'd already started to leave. So the woman says to me, on you go. And I said, I haven't got a microphone. She's like, oh, hold on, I'll go and get you a microphone. So I'm stood there while people are like sort of walking past me. And she's gone to find a microphone. In my head, I'm sort of thinking, well, there's less people to have to sort of deal with, so yeah, fine. So she hands me the microphone. I said, oh, do I just bring myself on? And she's like, oh, no, I'll do it. She's like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the stage, Jake Lambert. Nothing. No, there's no one clapping. Everyone's still leaving. So I walk on the stage, and it's one of those rooms that's like, it's so big that I'm on screens as well.
Right.
So people have obviously, as they've walked, they've sort of turned to go, why is there a person on the screen again? So I'm like, hello. And then people are sort of stopped by the doorway now, sort of going, what do we do? And I'm like, don't worry, if you were going to go, you can go. You're like, you're not a hostage, blah, blah, blah. So they leave, and then there's some people around who seem quite nice. So I talk to them, and I say, oh, I'm going to stand up, blah, 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 a little bit about the island or whatever. And then they told me, don't wear a suit. People wear suits, but don't worry about wearing a suit if you don't wear a suit on stage. So I just wear like a shirt and jeans and smart shoes, thinking that'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then these you know what people now call gammons in the media. These gammons. Have you heard this term?
No.
So it's basically it's angry older men who get angry and turn pink when they're just angry that the world's changing and they don't like it.
Yeah.
So there's a table of them, a buffet of gammons, I think maybe you'd call it. And they start going, where's your suit? And again, you don't go, I don't know, where's your... You just go, they told me not to. Like, you really haven't followed by the way I'm dressed? I'm like, da-da-da-da-da. And they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. So every time I do a joke, the room is literally split. Sometimes comedians split a room. But the room was physically split into people who were clearly going, lovely, there's some comedy. Yeah. And then these sort of Animal Farm bunch here who had just like looked like the sort of thing that Rocky would beat up. And they're, like hanging in the fridge and he's training, just smacking them all, which I wish he would have. And they're just, everything I say, they've got a problem with everything I say. And then I start doing a bit, and I used to do a bit about making the perfect cup of tea, right? Which is just a bit of fun. And I would talk about how I make the tea, da-da-da. Well, I don't realise, I haven't done my research, that they don't have, so when I talk about the perfect bit of milk, which I say is green lid, and I say that red lid is basically just like white water, it's only good for if you're going rafting or whatever.
Yeah.
But they sort of, even from the nice lot, there's like pullback. And I was like, I was like, don't tell me you've got different colours here. And they do over there. The colours aren't the same. Like the whole cheese onion salt and vinegar thing where some are blue, some are green.
Yeah.
Theirs is all different. So I think red is the medium one, green is the full fat, and blue's for no reason whatsoever, right? They don't have the same colour code. So people can probably figure out which this island is now.
Everything is against you on this gig, isn't it?
Even
the milk
me,
bottle lids.
Even milk. Like milk, the one thing that like a child needs to survive. Every baby of every mammal needs milk, and it's let me down. So they are saying that that's not the milk. And so now some people are finding this funny that I've got the milk thing wrong. And because I've already decided that if it's quite a coping thing I'll do, that if a certain audiences aren't enjoying a certain bit, I will stretch that bit out for as long as I can just to really irritate them.
Right.
So I'm like, brilliant. Now I can stretch this bit out and I can start again. And I can now do the right milk bit and I can check in. So then one of them gets so annoyed, and he's been heckling quite a bit. So he brings his phone up and he's Googled it for me, which is quite nice. And I think, oh, that's quite nice. He's sort of to say me, and he showed me the bottles, and the bottles are all like, they have cartons, and it's all like checkered with the red, the green, or the blue.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, I was like, oh, thank you. Like, maybe I've won you over. And he went, again, it's the same word. He went, no, I told you that so you could speed up, so you could piss off. So I'm like, and this is before the other piss off bit. So I'm like, where's the theme? So I've gone, well, you shouldn't tell me that. I've literally got your phone. And again, I'm on the big screen.
Yeah.
So everyone can see his phone. So I was like, I've got your phone. And then he said something. I said, I won't go through your photos. Don't worry. I said, unless you're good. Like, if you're good, as long as you're good. And he wasn't good. I carried on doing the bit. I referred to the milk. And then he said something. And I went, well, now I've got to go through your photos. Open the first photo. And it's a lady on a bed. She's got some clothes on, but not the clothes that you would want the public to see.
Yeah.
So I quickly closed it and I went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And someone shouted, who was that? And then a woman shouted, not his wife. And she got up and walked out the room.
Oh my God.
And I'm completely speechless. There was nothing to say. Everyone's looking at me and I'm like, I don't know. There's nothing you can do to say. So he walks past, I just sort of hand him the phone and he walks out and I look down and I've done exactly 20 minutes and I just go, I'm in Jake Lambert, thanks very much. And I walk out, I had a separate door, luckily. I walk out and the guy who picked me up from the hotel, he says, the car's ready outside. He said, I did think maybe you'd want to drink afterwards, but he goes, 5 minutes into the set, I thought, I'll just go and start the car. So he had basically realised he was a getaway driver for the gig. So luckily, he just took me to the hotel. And I was thinking, are they going to know him at this? Is this guy who I've caught him having an affair? Is he going to find out I was at this hotel? It's the only time I've actually needed a drink after a gig.
Oh my God.
Where I basically just went and had a whiskey and just felt, I was like, oh, this is why like detectives have to have it after a bad day at work. After all the deaths they've seen, I've just witnessed a major one and I need a whiskey. And then obviously the next day I was flying home and I was just at the airport thinking, is anybody going to recognize me? Like, if is it going to be the guy? Oh God, I was not happy until I was like home.
Yeah.
Home. It was horrific.
Oh my God, what a way to find out.
I've no idea what happened. I certainly didn't get any Instagram or Twitter followers after that, so I've got no idea. I'll just never gig there again. As a rule.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what I'll do if Michael ever does a gig there, because I certainly can't say no to him.
No.
So I might have no choice, and I might have to warn him. Oh, I will go, but I might get attacked on stage.
Yeah.
Which works for Jim Jeffries. That put him into the limelight. So maybe that's what I need.
Maybe you could try and end as many relationships as possible on that one island.
It's like Daniel Sloss has his thing, doesn't he? Where his show was called like Jigsaw or something, and it was about maybe not being with the perfect person, and people would break up off the back of it. But he was doing it deliberately.
Yeah.
But you're right. Maybe I should. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe they're both happier now. Maybe everyone's happier now because of me, but probably not.
There's been a lot of optimism throughout this entire podcast. None further than the stretch of that.
Just let you know that even that gig took away my optimism. That was the one that killed it.
I mean, just think if you do change your mind and want to go and do arenas and stuff, just think how much you could mess with people's relationships in a larger scale.
With those screens, that's true. Having the screens really helps. Everyone gets to witness the phone. In fact, yeah, Michael's got the send to all thing.
Yeah, he's never had this problem, has he?
No, yeah, maybe I need to do that. My own one of those. Just go through people's. Yeah, you know, like some comedians will. That you have to put your phone away. Have you seen these? Like Chris Rock will do it.
Yeah.
We have to put your phone in a pouch. Maybe that's how I get the phones. I literally have them all. And I just go through them one by one on a screen. And then if you're in a relationship and your partner doesn't want to come to a Jake Lambert gig, they're having an affair.
That's a good rule of thumb.
You're welcome.
Jake Lambert is performing at the Torquay Comedy Club in October. If you don't buy tickets, you are having an affair.
That is it.
There's no better sales strategy than that. Excellent. I mean,
there you go.
There is an awful lot to cover here. There really is, because
yes, sorry, there is a lot to digest.
No, it's great. I mean, I now have to score your stories.
Oh, do you? I didn't realize that was happening.
It is, yeah. So they're scored on 3 counts. At combined score out of 15. So it's factoring in the story's cringeworthiness, which I'm not going to talk about much more. That's a 5 out of 5. I don't think I need to break that down. It's mental scars and how it's changed you as a person.
Right.
So in terms of mental scars, I mean, you mentioned at the gig of silence with Sean Walsh, you mentioned there that you generally just sort of let things go.
Yeah.
But the hotelier sticks in your mind.
Yeah.
So I feel like for her alone, you're going to get a 3 out of 5 for that one.
I was thinking 3 when you just said that. So yeah, completely agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that you told me afterwards there'd be controversy that you were influencing the score if you had said it before. And how it's changed you as a person. I mean, you're not going back to that island to Gammon Gate, are you?
Absolutely not.
So that's got a score pretty high as well. So I'm giving you a 4 out of 5 for that. So that gives you a combined total of 12 out of 15.
Lovely. I'll take that.
We don't know if that's good. We don't know if it's better to be higher or lower. We have no idea at this stage. So
that's a very good point. Right.
So how do you feel in the presence of the unknown of 12 out of 15?
Well, I realise I'm sort of sat in a therapy chair, and having the day where I've broken a door already and really sort of failed to do anything productive or constructive all day, I really feel like I've dealt with some demons. And actually, maybe I didn't realise how much these gigs affected me. And so giving them a 12 out of 15, I think is a good thing, because I'm still here despite those.
This is true.
And I'm still smiling.
So your day could end channeling your inner detective again. You could have a double whiskey by the end of the day. Depends how many doors you break.
Yeah, I think so. At the minute, I feel like I have a whiskey, but it is it's not even midday, so I won't do that. But I really feel like, well, I was going to go for a run, and now I feel like I'll be running from my problems, which is another thing that people do in TV shows and films. So it will spur me on. I know what I'm running from now when I go for a run.
Oh, I thought you were going the other way with it. I thought you were using that as a very long-winded way to convince yourself not to go for a run. Like, because I don't want to run away from stuff, so I'll just watch Netflix.
Oh no, it was now I know why I'm running, but I will look on the map to make sure I'm always running sort of away from that island geographically, and at least I'm running and I'm not on a scooter.
That is true.
And that's a positive.
Oh, mate, honestly, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I'll see you in October.
Yes, see you in October. Cheers, man.
Cheers.